Chapter 96, Outage, Sam. I screamed again. Right now, Dr. Marcacius is not paying attention to me. George, are you okay? Dr. Marcacius asked. George was hugging and crying against Dr. Marcacius. Power is out now, you evil Robbins! We heard the police yell from down below through a megaphone. Time check, Dr. Marcacius asked. 3:55, answered Hannah. The knob is set on something separate. It is not affected by this power outage. You still need to wait a few minutes past 4 until you are able to touch it without getting birds to return. George, can you do me a favor? Asked Dr. Marcacius. George then kept on crying for a few seconds before Dr. Marcacius asked him again. George, can you do me a favor? Asked Dr. Marcacius again. What is it? Asked George. Can you get Daddy's flashlight? There's also a lantern from under the island, asked Dr. Marcacius. Sure, said George. While George went to do that, Dr. Marcacius began talking to me. Well, were you talking to Monster earlier if you did, or if you didn't do anything? Dr. Marcacius asked. I then pointed to return. What about her? Dr. Marcacius asked. I screamed again. I then lunged at the return in bitter anger. Ow! Screamed the return. Until we lost power, I actually stopped him again, and now he can't function properly, said Dr. Marcacius. Well, it was the cops' fault to turn off the power, said the return. I don't care, said Dr. Marcacius. Just make sure he doesn't kill me, said the return. I agree, Sam, don't kill her, said Dr. Marcacius. I gave a thumbs up. I was then tired of sinking my teeth into her, and so I let go of her ankle with my teeth, and when it was over, there was blood. I better go clean that up, said the return. Don't bother, said Dr. Marcacius. Why? Asked the return. Why do you think? Asked Dr. Marcacius loudly. I don't know, answered the return. Because we don't have water, said Dr. Marcacius. I know that. I was just messing with you, said Dr. Marcacius. You probably shouldn't mess with him like that, said Hannah. I'm his grandmother. That's what grandparents do, said the return. I hissed at the return. Or whatever noise you make back, said the return. He was behaving that way because of you, said Dr. Marcacius. Who cares? He's getting his mother back, isn't he? Asked the return. He has more in it for his father, but still, don't be rude, answered Dr. Marcacius in a strict tone. His father pretty much is his mother because they both have the same loving personalities. He will live, said the return. I don't know what you were saying, but I am going to let it go, said Dr. Marcacius. I also was going to let it go. Sam, attack her if she misbehaves, said Dr. Marcacius. I gave a thumbs up, and then I gave a smile so big that you could see it just fine with the power off. Good, said Dr. Marcacius. Oh, I need to finish preparing that bowl of strawberries for you, said Hannah in an apologetic tone. Don't bother, it's too dark, and I just remembered we forgot the water anyway, I said. Good point, said Hannah. You just put them in a bowl, said the return. Stop criticizing how we eat, said Dr. Marcacius. I hissed. Nah, not now. Let's wait for her to do something worse, said Dr. Marcacius. Dr. Marcacius then definitely broke his promise, but I still gave him a thumbs up, and I stood up for him to see it better. Sam, can I ask you a question? Asked the return. As long as it isn't rude, asked Dr. Marcacius. I gave a thumbs up and pointed at Dr. Marcacius at the same time because of what he said. He was how I was going to answer the question. The return just asked me if I was going to talk right now. What is it with you and hissing? Asked the return. That surprisingly didn't offend me, so I was waiting to answer it. I then got on my phone. What are you getting on your phone for? Asked the return. I gave her a look and thought to myself, really? Figure it out, dumbass, said Dr. Marcacius. Okay, I figured it out, but do not that only dumbass or willing to call their grandmother a dumbass, said the return. I doubt that highly because I doubt dumbasses have an IQ of 200-ish, said Dr. Marcacius. They also probably wouldn't let criminals into their houses, said the return. Dr. Marcacius began shaking. It's not a house, it's a country, said Dr. Marcacius. I then began typing in my notepad. It releases my anger, was what I had written when I showed to the return. I see. Is there anything else you can do to release your anger? Asked the return what I actually felt was a legitimate and honest tone. I then typed my answer into the notepad. Physical violence, the notepad said. Oh, you do that already, said the return. Do you want me to teach you a rule of thumb about Sam? Dr. Marcacius asked. What rule of thumb? I thought to myself. What is it? The return asked. Do not try to change him, said Dr. Marcacius. Okay, said the return. There was a pause as Dr. Marcacius went back to eating his strawberries. Dr. Marcacius, he asked. What is it, Dr. Marcacius asked. It is full, answered Hannah. We're going to wait 10 minutes for the knob to cool down, and that includes kicking the door down because we could burn ourselves or other things by accident if we not kick down the door, said Dr. Marcacius. I gave a thumbs up. Sam, can you do me a favor, Dr. Marcacius asked. I then stood up. Can you touch the door itself to make sure it won't shock you, Dr. Marcacius asked. I gave a thumbs up. I walked over to the door and touched it. No shock. I then gave a thumbs up. Excellent, said Dr. Marcacius. I know you hate me, but remember I set the security to protect my daughter and son-in-law from the cops, said the return. Oh, I never said you were all bad. But I think you were a cunt just for lying to us about being a criminal and having to force yourself to live here, said Dr. Marcacius with an evil smile. I see. Well, the cops opened fire at me in my apartment on Rosemont by O'Hare Airport, said the return. I don't care, said Dr. Marcacius. Just then George began tugging at Dr. Marcacius's cloak. Please just talk to me next time, said Dr. Marcacius. We were secure, George asked. The briefcase on the table, answered Dr. Marcacius. George then opened the briefcase. Is it still in there, Dr. Marcacius asked. Yes, answered George. Good, said Dr. Marcacius. George then shut the briefcase. Okay, guys, here is the deal. We're going to all go in at once the knob cools off, and then eventually it'll just be George, and George will cuddle them for a few minutes, and then he is going to jab it into Mom's arm, said Dr. Marcacius. Okay, said Hannah. What if she wants to be with all of us first? George asked. We can all cuddle. We can all cuddle with them at first, as long as Hannah approves of me cuddling with my mother, answered Dr. Marcacius. That is okay with me, said Hannah. I then gave a thumbs up to assure I knew the plan. George, you know what to do? Dr. Marcacius asked. Yes, answered George. Now, where are you going to keep the vaccinator? Dr. Marcacius asked. I have pockets in my pants. I will store it in there, answered George. Good, said Dr. Marcacius. How long until we go through with that plan? Sam, go check the doorknob. I then gave a thumbs up. I then touched the doorknob with my pinky and it burned it, but less severe. I just had to draw away fast. I gave a thumbs down. Did you get burned? Dr. Marcacius asked. I then got out my notepad on my phone. Yes, but to a lesser extent. Was it what I said when I finished typing it into my notepad? Figures. When I saw you draw your hand away fast, said Dr. Marcacius. How much longer should we wait? Asked George. It's 4:05 now. We're going to wait until 4:10, said Dr. Marcacius. I gave a thumbs up. Got it, said Hannah. This is it, said George. Why does the time of it matter? You were going to save her either way, asked the return. Shut up, said the return. The return, believe it or not, did shut up. Dr. Marcacius then took a look in my pinky where I just touched the doorknob and it got burned.